I promised that I would show you the default folders that exist in every Mac OS X application, and that's what I'm going to do now. Let's start with the folders that you will find at the root level of your hard disk that are created primarily during the installation of Mac OS X. Now, as I've said before, some of these folders that you will see here and some of the files are due to an upgrade, so you may find them on your Mac if you have upgraded from previous versions of the operating system. Here, for example, is a folder that contains Mac OS 9 applications. These are what are referred to as classic applications. They no longer run in the environment that we're running today. So you may be attached to them because you used them for so long, or there may actually be some information in their documents that you need. You can't run them on a modern Macintosh computer, but what you should do in your spare time if you have another Mac is to open them and extract the information from any documents that you need and store it in a new version or in a different type of document so that you can use them if you need them. You can see these are fairly old applications. The developer folder contains the developer application that you can install if you have a CD or DVD for your installation disk. The developer tools will be on there, and if you install them, they will be in the developer folder. There are other files that are here. These, for example, are installer documents from an installation of FileMaker, FM. You can see there's a list of what's being installed here, and these can be removed once the installation is clean. These are other documents that were installed at some time or another for the ODBC environment. Again, you have a system folder from an old Mac. You may or may not have that. You also have, notice here, an alias, which is to a folder that contains documentation for this particular computer. Now let me go back to the top of the list and show you the folders that you definitely will have. In alphabetical order, you will have an applications folder, which will have the highlighted applications here. These are the ones that ship with Mac OS X. You will have a library folder, and the library folder contains support for different parts of Mac OS X. You don't need to get into this folder at all most of the time. You can see that it's organized primarily by application. There is one particular folder that you might need to get into at some point, and that is Preferences. Not Preference Panes, that's for system preferences, but the Preferences folder. The Preferences folder is where applications can store their preferences, oddly enough. And you can see that many of them have names that are in fact the reverse of their website name. This means that they're unique because you cannot have two identical website names. So if you have, for example, adobe.com, which is a unique website name, Adobe can turn it around and say there's going to be a file called com.adobe, which will be unique, and within that Adobe can control the naming conventions. So here in fact is a property list for the Acrobat PDF viewer. And you see a lot of plist files. These are the files where properties of applications are stored, and you can see there's a wide variety of them. So you may have to go in here if you are having trouble with an application. To completely deinstall an application, what you need to do is to remove the application and to remove its property list, which you will probably find in Preferences inside the library at the root level of your hard disk. Before you go ahead and do that, however, check the installation disk or the copy of the installation download file and see if you run it if there isn't an uninstall option, because a well-behaved application will let you rerun the installer and click uninstall to remove it. If you are upgrading an application to the next version and you need to uninstall previous versions, it is quite possible that the installer for the new version will contain an uninstaller for the old version. So before you go playing around inside the Preferences folder, check to see if it's really necessary. Then you have a system folder, and there's no question that you should not be wandering around in here, because this is the folder that contains the Mac OS X operating system, split into a variety of areas and a variety of applications. You are actually running many applications when you run Mac OS X. And then you have the users folder, and inside that is one folder for each user that you have created on your computer, and one of them, your own current account folder, will have the home icon. This is in fact a folder, but this is who I'm logged in as right now. So the folders you will definitely have at the root level of your disk are Applications, Library, System, and Users.